11:50.
Mic check, 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2.
Verizon, right? Okay. Verizon or the helmet? I think Verizon, because we don't have the backdrop. We're telling them.
Can you do wide? Can you do wide? Do both. The helmets and the Verizon. All right, ready? 3, 2, and 1. It's a very important Week 3 matchup for the Washington Redskins as they host the Detroit Lions in what could be a must-win game for the Washington Redskins. They are 0-2 as they start off the 2013 campaign. Welcome into Game Day Live presented by Verizon. Lou Holder here at FedExField. As always, joined by the voice of the Washington Redskins, Larry Michael. And Larry, I think we need to start with the start for the Washington Redskins. They have not got off to good starts in the first couple of games, and it is shown at the end of the game. All those points and all those yards that you amass in the second half, they only have one score in the first half of these two games, and that was a D'Angelo Hall defensive touchdown.
Yeah, got to get off to a faster start, Lou, and you got to get some third down conversions, which brings me to the man who's warming up behind us right now, Robert Griffin III.
Yes.
And
I love the way you prompt us, Larry.
And to see how he progresses, he's progressed over the first two games. Can he take the next step today, show a little bit more of what we saw last year, get him out on the edge, actually running the football and some planned runs? And it's something that folks have been clamoring for, but you have to understand that he's coming off an injury. You don't want to force it. You want to make sure he's comfortable. You can see right there he's wearing that knee brace. And, folks, he's going to be wearing the knee brace. It's so ironic that during the summer, Lou, everybody said, well, they can't run Robert Griffin III, and he really needs to wear a brace. And this week, after losing two straight, they say, well, he better take off that brace, and he better run. So if fans want to see something today, I don't think you're going to let fans really dictate your game plan. Detroit's a good football team. They've got that tough defensive line. You got to let the game come to you. Scoring early, though, is the most important thing for the Redskins today.
You've told me earlier in the week, Larry, that another concern of yours was third down conversions. Now, obviously, if you're getting a lot of penalties and you're third and long, the third down conversion rate is going to not be ideal. How important is it for the Redskins to stay clean with the laundry and to make those 3rd and 1s instead of 3rd and 7s and 3rd and 9s?
Oh, it's super important, and, you put yourself in 3rd and long, and you're not going to be running the football. You're going to change your game plan. If you fall behind, conventional wisdom, you've got to abandon the ground game. And people say, well, you can't abandon the ground game, but if you're trailing 24-0 at halftime, you better abandon the ground game. So, you know what? I think you'll see a very confident team. It's a team that learned how to win at the end of last year. I think it's basically the same team, same players. Not a lot has changed with the roster. And again, Robert Griffin III, the trigger man, how much better will he be today? His numbers are pretty good. The Redskins right now are 6th overall in the National Football League offensively. But they haven't been able to put points on the board, as you said, haven't been able to convert third down conversions. And in Game 1, they turned it over. They improved on that in Game 2, but maybe a couple takeaways would be nice for the Redskins today.
Right. Let's talk about that offensive line. You got Ndamukong Suh coming in here, very disruptive player. He can get after the quarterback. Don't know the status of Nick Farley right now, but the Detroit Lions have some defensive presence.
Yeah, and Suh, he gets a lot of headlines. He's been fined over $375,000.
It's a Larry Michael paycheck.
Well, no, not really. I'll tell you what, if it was, I wouldn't want to be giving any of that up. And he's given a lot of that up. But that kind of overshadows the fact that he's a defensive lineman. He kind of controls the point of attack. And with the Redskins, the zone blocking scheme they have is predicated on timing. He can disrupt your timing. So you're looking at a situation where the Redskins are going to have to deal with that front. They've got Ezekiel Ansah, their first-round pick out of BYU. He's a difference maker. So defensively, their strength is up front. So for the Redskins, if they can run the football, that's going to go a long way towards winning this ballgame.
What about defensively for the Washington Redskins? I know Jim Haslett has got to be scratching his head as far as the start his defense has gotten off to. You would think that Ryan Kerrigan and Brian Arakpo and a lot of these guys would have been getting pressure. They have at some points, but Michael Vick, Aaron Rodgers, and if Matt Stafford is not pressured, he will find Calvin Johnson, and it's going to be a long day for the Washington Redskins. What is Jim Haslett and company thinking right now?
Well, you know what, Lou? 32nd in the National Football League. You've given up over 1,000 yards, 1,063 yards in 2 games. What do you got to lose? You might as well come after him. You might as well bring some pressure. You did see last week, the start of the game, you did mention it, Kerrigan had 2 sacks, Arakpo had 1, but if you don't stop them on third down, and if you can't convert third downs yourself, your defense is on the field way too long, and I think that's what happened to the Redskins last week. Again, thus, get off to a good start, get a lead, don't play from behind. You can't afford to abandon the running game here against Detroit. With that defensive front, they come after the quarterback. There is Redskins general manager Bruce Allen walking by. They come after the quarterback. So you got to run the football. That'll ease the pressure on Robert Griffin III. I can assure you of that.
Monday morning Redskins Roundup. Be sure to catch the Monday morning Redskins Roundup presented by Verizon tomorrow at 9 a.m. on Redskins.com. The live web show will feature highlights, interviews, and analysis. Ask the host a question by using hashtag RedskinsTalk on Twitter. All right, Larry Michael going to do his work. He's so busy. Larry Michael is so busy. The voice of the Washington Redskins. He's got so many people pulling at him. He's got to be the busiest person on a game day. Larry Michael, he's everywhere. But when Larry Michael departs, that means I have 2 more guests to get to on our fabulous show on Gametime Live presented by Verizon. The next one up, Brian Tinsman. My man Brian Tinsman from Redskins.com. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well.
Hey, you know what we do. You know what we do with BT. Every time Brian Tinsman comes on, he's in charge of the publications, the magazines, whatever you guys see when you come to the stadium, when you're up in the press box, the game day program. And he has a method to his madness on how and who he puts on the cover. So, Brian Tinsman, please reveal who was on the cover for home game number 2.
It is the key to this game. It's all about Alfred Morris.
Tell us why it's all about Alfred Morris.
The last time we saw him on this.
Hold on. Why are you too cool that you have to wear sunglasses? Could you please take off the sunglasses so these beautiful people watching on the internet can see your face? You are not. What's the guy from Top Gun? You are not. What's the Tom Cruise? What was his name?
Tom Cruise.
Maverick. You are not Maverick. You could take off your sunglasses. All right, let's start this over. Why Alfred Morris?
Alfred Morris, because last time we saw him out here, we saw the worst game of his career, bar none. 45 yards, 2 fumbles, touchdown. But he wasn't happy with it. Didn't like it. Green Bay, we saw the Alfred Morris that can win a game for us today. Even out of the offensive game plan, they couldn't run the ball much in the second half. You still had Alfred Morris, who was running 13 times for 107 yards. That was a career-best 8.2 yards per carry.
Yeah, as we look, trying to find Alfred, but we do see the guy who's going to be passing him the ball or pitching the ball from Robert Griffin III. But go ahead, continue with Alfred Morris.
Alfred Morris is really the key to this offense. I mean, he can balance this offense single-handedly. Sure, Roy Halou is key, Evan Royce they like, Chris Thompson's a young guy. But it's all about Alfred Morris, and really he's the difference between this offense selling out to the pass and really not being able to be effective as they have been in the first 2 weeks and running a balanced attack. This was the number 1 rushing offense in the NFL last year. They've gotten away from that in a big way, but we saw just a taste of what Alfred Morris can do. He's only carried the ball 25 times. I think he can do that on his own today.
All right, you're watching Gametime Live presented by Verizon. Redskins pick and play, people. Which team will score first today? Hopefully it's the Washington Redskins. Submit your predictions for Redskins pick and play, and you could win an autographed mini helmet today. Plus earn points all season long for a chance to win a VIP experience to the next year's home opener. Go to RedskinsGameTime.com to sign up today. Back with Brian Tinsman. And Brian, the Redskins have a lot of concerns. I talked to Larry about a couple of them. Let's continue on with some of those concerns. I have a big concern now, and I'm going to talk to Chris Russell about this as well. What has happened to Fred Davis? Has he basically been put in the doghouse here? Because it looks like Jordan Reed is getting more and more attention. And Fred Davis, who, wow, how the mighty have fallen. As Chris Russell says, is he in the Chateau Bow Wow?
Well, I mean, he's a guy who they brought back on a 1-year prove-it deal, and from the indications given to us by head coach Mike Shanahan and Kyle Shanahan, this is a guy that hasn't really shown it yet in practice, and it's really surprising because this is a complex offense. You have Jordan Reed, who misses all of OTAs, comes in late to training camp, is very minimally active in the preseason, and is already the star of the show at tight end. He had a touchdown last week. He leads the team for tight ends with receptions and yardage, has that first score under his belt. He's a guy that they really liked in the draft, and I think that if he can show that he can do it, then Fred Davis, who is due for a big payday, might be looking for work elsewhere next year.
The Redskins defense is going to have their hands full. I mean, they had their hands full with Deshaun Jackson and LaShawn McCoy. They had their hands full with Aaron Rodgers. But I got to tell you, none of those guys compared to the task at hand on stopping Megatron Calvin Johnson, 6'5", 240, 4.4 in the 40-yard dash. Hello, if Matt Stafford has time, this could get really ugly really quickly.
I mean, you're talking about a guy who probably has one of the biggest catching radiuses in the NFL. You know, he's been an All-Pro, he's been a pro. He broke the yardage record last year, so he can certainly pile it on. You know, the saving grace for the Redskins defense today, I think, is actually another guy, Reggie Bush, who is unexpected. Is not expected to play at this point. You know, that allows them to focus a little bit more on the secondary and focus on a guy like Calvin Johnson. I think that they are willing to let guys like Pettigrew and a couple of the other lesser receivers, Nate Burleson, hurt them as long as they can shut down Calvin Johnson, because he's a guy that can take over a game. Last week he had an entire good game's worth of yardage and touchdowns in the first half. They cannot allow that to happen this week. They need to shut him down. They need to score early.
You're one of those guys who really gets involved with stats when you put together your magazine. I mean, the Washington Redskins have had a nice little record against the Detroit Lions, but that doesn't mean anything. I mean, they're for stat people like yourself. But when the Detroit Lions see the struggles that the Washington Redskins are having, they'll be like, forget that 22-4 mark that the Washington Redskins have with the Detroit Lions. We could win this game.
Well, you know, it's funny. I was looking at the last time they played them, and I was looking for photos of players of Redskins players that were still on the team, and I tell you, there weren't many. And also, when you look at the Lions team, again, not many of the same players that have faced off against the Redskins in the past. These are two new squads. These are very, if not young, then at least newly conglomerated teams. And, you know, this is a whole new ball game. They haven't beaten them in 76 years at home. That doesn't matter. None of these guys were alive, you know, the last time that happened. Their grandparents were barely alive. So, you know, this is a whole new ball game. Every single week in the NFL, anybody can win. So, you know, we've seen weird streaks. We've seen weird games with the Lions. This is the same Redskins team that broke that 0-19 streak in Detroit for the Lions. So, you know, this is certainly a matchup that I think both teams are looking forward to. It's kind of evenly matched, and both teams really need a win today.
Okay. All right. Last question for you. You nervous about this game? I mean, be honest with you. I know you work for the team and everything like that, but be honest. Are you nervous about this game? I mean, an 0-3 start is not what you want. This is a Detroit team that you can beat, but how nervous are you?
I tell you what, going into the year, before we ever saw Philadelphia, this is the game that made me feel the best. Okay. I knew Philadelphia.
Not Oakland?
No, well, you know, Oakland on the road. You never know. West Coast is a whole different thing. Detroit at home made me feel the best. But after seeing them come out the way they have flat in the first two games, we need to see a totally different Redskins team for me to feel good about this. So, of course, I'm nervous. Yeah, I mean, we really haven't seen what this team is capable of. So I think that we'll know probably in the first quarter what kind of a game we're going to have today.
All right, Brian Tinsman of Redskins.com. Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate it. 50-50 raffle, Washington Redskins fans. During every home game during the 2013 season, the Washington Redskins Charitable Foundation will introduce a 50-50 raffles to Redskins fans. Get your ticket up until the beginning of the fourth quarter for your chance to win. All right, people, you know how we do it on the show. If Larry Michael has come and gone and Brian Tinsman has come and gone, you know who's next. We call him big and we call him sexy. His name is Chris Russell. Chris Russell from ESPN 980 is in the house. What's up, big sexy?
Hello there.
He recently had a birthday, so let's say happy birthday to my man. Happy birthday.
That just means I'm officially really old. And
I'm older than you.
You
so
should stick a fork in me.
Do you have gray in that beard?
You know, Larry does not like me with the beard, so, you know, I was hoping you wouldn't point that out.
Well, this team will give you some gray.
They give you a lot of things. They give you a lot of things. A lot of agita, I can tell you that much.
Okay, let's get it. We got a lot to talk about today. Hankerson, Leonard Hankerson, what's up with him?
Well, he's healthy. I mean, he pulled a little groin, whatever, that area. Early in practice, said he did not warm up enough. on Friday. It was not a big deal on Friday. He fully expected to be active, and he is. The inactives are Kai Forbath, the place kicker, so that means John Potter for a second consecutive week, as Kai trots past us here on the sideline, so he won't be able to go. Rex Grossman, Fred Davis is inactive.
Let's stop there. Let's stop there because I want to get to that. Fred Davis inactive.
Yeah.
There's more to that story. There has to be. Could you basically delve as much as you can into it? Because Fred Davis being inactive after the year that he was supposed to have is very concerning to me and Redskins Nation.
Yeah, apparently he rolled an ankle late in Friday afternoon practice. Now, Mike Shanahan did not mention it at all on Friday. It could possibly be that he didn't even know. But they did not list him on the official injury report, which comes out an hour and a half or so after Mike Shanahan speaks to the media on Friday. So they had plenty of time to let him know, but yet they still did not do it on Friday. On Saturday, they issue a special bulletin, essentially, in addition to the injury report, which is very rare. And they said, Fred Davis questionable because of the ankle. So Fred Davis is down. I was told, it happened again on Friday, and it got worse. It swelled up overnight, Friday night into Saturday. Look, they can't be faking this stuff on the injury report, so I would be very surprised if this is just a disciplinary technique because there is a lot going on. Fred has not acquitted himself very well behind the scenes, and that's why you've seen Jordan Reed advance in his playing time and Fred struggle in that area.
Okay. Merriweather.
Merriweather is going to play. Merriweather is going to play, so that's great news. I assume he'll be the starter at strong safety. Kind of thought that. The other inactives are Jose Gums, Chris Baker instead of Chris Neal, which is interesting. I thought Baker had a really rough game one against the Eagles. Gap discipline, I thought he was shaky as well against Green Bay, the limited snaps that he got. So this doesn't really shock me.
This is Gametime Live presented by Verizon. So when it's live, that means we got to bring people as they come in. Hey, I know. Chris Cooley, fan favorite Chris Cooley, is in the house. Chris, we were just talking about the tight end position with Fred Davis and Jordan Reed. So I'm glad you stopped by. It wasn't arranged that you would come by when we're talking about the tight end position. Yeah, okay. But since you're here, let's do it. Fred Davis, inactive today. Jordan Reed playing very good football. Your thoughts? I mean, you've been around these guys. You've been around Mike Shanahan. What's actually going on there?
Well, I think Fred Davis got rolled up on in practice Friday, and that's tough for a guy like Fred right now because it's literally saying when it rains, it pours, and that's pretty much exactly what I heard. Is it was a bad situation where it was a route that he was running the play, kind of in the line of scrimmage, and took an ankle on the inside. So hopefully he's okay, but Fred's a tough guy, and he would play if he could play. And I know that about Fred. I know it's a time that he wants to play. Jordan's done a fantastic job. He's been one of the bright spots of this offense. But also remember, he's a young guy, and you can't overload him with too much right now. So they want Fred Davis to complement him. They want that to be a good set of tight ends where they complement each other.
Guys, both of you, you guys have seen this team in and out. The slow starts, the ineffectiveness in third down, it's got to be very concerning to both of you.
Well, I think, look, there's no doubt 0 for 9 in the first half in third downs. That's got to change today. Chris, I think we're going to see a little bit more of the Robert from last year. But it's not only the zone read stuff, it's the play-action boots, which are a big part of this offense, whether whoever's the quarterback, whether it's Kirk, Robert, not as much with Robert, of course, as Kirk and Rex, but I think you'll see some of that. You've got to slow down this pass rush of Ndamukong Suh, Nick Fairley, who had a sack and a half in his only game in the lineup, and he is active and starting today for the Lions, and rookie Ziggy Ansah at the left defensive end. They've got to find a way to slow it down and add deception back to the passing game.
Well, Robert's the quarterback, so it's not whoever, it's Robert. Right. Quit stirring up controversy. Listen, they're looking for a guy to make a spark. They need something to happen offensively, a big play, and defensively. Last week, Pierre was all right, but really what the team needs is Robert Griffin to make a spark. And so if that's running early in the game, if that's him making a big play, there has to be something to set a standard of play for this team, set an excitement level for this team so they play higher than they have. They've been really flat in the first 2 weeks, and I look for Robert to be the guy that comes out and makes a statement early, and then the rest of the guys to kind of follow suit.
How important is it to stay clean with that laundry? I mean, because some of these third downs are like 3rd and 9, third and penalty yardage instead of third and ones, which makes the ratio of converting on third downs even a more dubious task. How important is it for this team to play smarter football?
Well, you always want to play smart football, and without being cliche, I just say the penalties are unacceptable, but this team has to get themselves in better situations on third down. They have to make more big plays on first and second down, because when you're in third and 6+, it limits what you can do, but it adds to what the defenses can do coverage-wise. They want to keep their entire playbook open on third down, and the Redskins right now are on a team that have a special third down package. They want to run a lot of their normal plays, and they can do that if they're 3rd and 5, 3rd and 4 less. And then there also has to just be that consistency, confidence thing, saying we're going to stay on the field. They can't stop us. That's what was there last year, and it hasn't been there this year.
Forget about the X's and O's for just 1 second. Chris Cooley, how's it being on the other side in our business? First, I mean, you making that move into our arena, and how is it working with Chris Russell on ESPN 980?
Oh, it's really great until I am here. And now I want to go in the locker room and put my pads on.
You really have that feeling? Seriously, do you really want to?
Oh, I absolutely want to play. I would love to play right now. Fortunately, the Redskins have some fantastic tight ends, and so I'm not sitting there thinking, oh, it could be me right now. And I wouldn't want to go anywhere else. That being said, this has been a lot of fun for me. It's an unbelievable experience. I feel really fortunate to be around this team, to be around a lot of guys that I've spent time with. Obviously, we've been around each other for a long time, Chris and I. So you keep the friendships that have been there in your life, and that's very special to me, and that's a big reason in why I stayed here.
I'm not saying this because we've known each other since the beginning of your career, but you're doing a good job, a great job as far as assimilating, knowing when to get in and out of breaks and stuff like that. You're really doing a good job, but you're evading my question. Chris Russell, is he an average? Is he an average talent in the, or is he the big sexy that he portrays himself to be?
Chris Russell's definitely the big sexy. He wants to make the big splash too, and that's what I like about him. He's like, hey, if there's something I can bust, I want to be the first one to break this story. So when you do that in the media, you gain respect from the fans, but you also get this locker room feeling of like, I'm not telling this guy anything. So no, he does a heck of a job, and he knows his stuff, and that's what a lot of people in the media don't know, and a lot of people that are associated with this team don't know is what's really going on. And Chris is well aware of what's happening with the Redskins.
I know you want to say something, Chris.
Yeah, I will say this. I don't know half of what other people know, and I will just say this. It's been a pleasure, to get to work with him, because he's so closely removed from not only this organization, but this team that we see. And this guy sees stuff in the press box or in the broadcast booth before anybody sees it. So it's just been, kind of an awesome listen for our fans to kind of glean the knowledge instantly. So they really should be listening to the radio.
And what really sparked me is that even when you got let go, you were talking about the whole conversation that Mike Shanahan had with you about when a player and they have to make transition, how hard it is for the coach and how transparent you were with your situation. I thought that was very nice.
Well, again, I've been really close to everyone involved, and I'm friends with this staff, and I feel like Mike Shanahan is a friend, and he was a boss as well, but at the same time, you have relationships with people, and that's what makes this entire career surrounding athletics, the media, everything so special, is because it kind of is this, we get to go to work and act like 19-year-old kids every day, and you get to see a side of people that you don't always see, and you get to have conversations with people that are very, very cool. And so I've just tried to be honest with everyone. I've tried to tell everyone kind of what is going on in my life. I've always tried that, and I guess I've been respected enough for it by media and coaches involved, and so try not to be too controversial, but try to be honest.
Thanks a lot. Chris Cooley, the newest member of the ESPN 980 family, a fan favorite for the Washington Redskins. There's a lot of 47 jerseys still out here. He's still signing autographs and doing things. So he joined us on Gametime Live, presented by Verizon. You got Chris Russell, you got Brian Tinsman, and you all have Larry Michael, all telling you what the keys are for victory for the Washington Redskins. Hey, look. They got to get this win. Oakland is coming up next. You do not want to go 0-4 going into the bye week. So the Washington Redskins need to take care of home, something that they did last year. They need to take care of home, and it all starts today when the Washington Redskins host the Detroit Lions. For Chris Cooley, for Chris Russell, for Brian Tinsman and Larry Michael, I'm Lou Holder. Enjoy the game. The Redskins take on the Detroit Lions. You've been watching Gametime Live, presented by Verizon.